Hi, my name is Maddie, and I think I may have gone too far with my boyfriend, Willie. We met in college, and I fell in love with him instantly. He was the most gorgeous, caring, and amazing man. He was perfect for me, and he really seemed to like me. We went on a lot of dates together, and finally, he took me back to his place. I had never been over before, so I was pretty nervous about it. It was a small apartment, but it was cozy and warm. That's when Willie introduced me to his dog. By the way he talked to it, I almost thought it was a real person rather than a pet. I thought it was cute the way he treated him. After all, I loved animals as much as the next person. We snuggled together to watch a movie on the couch, but when I went to sit down, the dog jumped up beside Willie in exactly the spot I was hoping to get. I expected him to move the dog or at least tell him to get off the couch, but Willie seemed happy that the dog was snuggling him instead of me. It was a cute dog, so I decided to let it go and sat further away from him for the movie. After that night, I started to come over more often, and that's when I began to notice something that didn't sit right with me. Whenever we had a meal, he'd always interrupt me in the middle of my sentences to feed, pet, or talk to the dog. When we had a movie night, he'd let the dog sit beside him instead of me. It was starting to look like he cared more about the dog than he cared about me, his own girlfriend. Soon, he even started to bring the dog on every date he could. He'd bring it on walks, bike rides, and even shopping. He claimed it was a service animal to get the dog into shops with us. I was starting to feel pretty jealous. I know it sounds bad to be jealous of a pet, but when Willie was with the dog, it was like he didn't notice me at all. When we went to the clothing store, I tried to get his attention again by putting on a bunch of cute outfits. He was too busy petting the dog behind the ears to even notice me changing. Then, when I came out of the dressing room, this time he wasn't even there. I changed back and started to look for him in the mall. I found him a few stores down and asked why he left. Willie apologized and told me that he had seen a pet shop and wanted to stop there to pick up another new toy for his dog. He hadn't gotten me a present in a long time, but he seems to get the dog something new every week? I was feeling even worse than usual when we got back to his place. But things only got worse over time. He still brought his dog everywhere and gave it much more attention and gifts than he ever gave to me. It seemed like half of our dates ended with a trip to the dog park. But I had a plan. I was going to take Willie out to a fancy restaurant that didn't allow pets, so it would just be the two of us for our date night. I planned out a fun night with no dogs at all. It was only one night, so I was sure that Willie could leave his dog alone for that long. When I told him about the date later, I even offered to have my sister watch the dog for the evening so he wouldn't worry about him. But after he heard the restaurant wouldn't allow his dog to go with him, Willie refused to go. Instead, he proposed a night at his place. He would cook a nice meal and serve me dinner. It sounded pretty perfect, so I agreed. The day of the date, I got dressed up fancy with makeup, a new outfit, and everything I knew Willie loved. I'd win him over tonight for sure. I arrived at his apartment and rang the doorbell. When he answered the door, Willie looked very confused. My heart sank when he told me he completely forgot about the date. He'd been giving his dog a bath all afternoon and hadn't cooked anything at all. He said goodbye to me since he still had to brush and groom his dog. I was outraged that he forgot our special date, and I was tired of having to compete for his attention with a pet. So that night, I used a spare key to sneak into his apartment, and I took the dog back to my sister's house to keep for a few days. The next morning, Willie called me, and he was very worried. I told him his dog had probably just escaped when he wasn't looking, and he would be back soon. I thought that without the dog around for a few days, Willie would finally pay attention to his girlfriend. But he was still too worried about his dog. He spent all day looking for him and asked me to look too. When I told him I didn't want to look with him, Willie began to explain to me what the dog was to him. Suddenly, I began to realize exactly what it was I had done. The dog was given to Willie as a puppy by his mother. It was the last gift she gave him before she died of illness, so that dog meant the world to Willie. It was the last piece of his mother he had left, and I had taken it away from him. I felt absolutely horrible, so I told Willie I knew where to look. While he looked at one of the nearby dog parks, I went back to my sister's house and got the dog back. I brought it straight to him. They were so happy to see each other, and Willie started to thank me for finding him, but I couldn't keep it in anymore. I told him everything. About how the dog made me feel jealous, how I tried to get alone time with him, and how I stole the dog from his apartment to finally have that time together. I apologized over and over, but Willie gave me a hug instead. He told me that if I was feeling that way, I should have said something instead of doing all of this. He understood what I was feeling and apologized. He told me that he would leave the dog at home on our dates from now on. Since then, our relationship has improved so much. I love his dog a lot more now that he isn't tagging along on our dates. And Willie kept his word too, leaving his pet at home to spend time with me when we went out together. He still loves his dog so much, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Subscribe, and your boyfriend won't love his dog more than you.